Good morning. It's time for Community Matters on Y101. Today's show is brought to you by these great sponsors: Appling Healthcare in Baxley, Vidalia Federal in Vidalia and Lyons, Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde, and by Todd Padgett Housing Center in Claxton. Now let's talk about what's happening in our community with your host, Tony Doc Wardlaw.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, the Doc, and it's another beautiful Wednesday morning. I just believe that God has just been giving me good weather on Wednesday mornings just for Community Matters, and it's always beautiful to be in this great community of ours and moving through the hot summer months. But I'm glad you chose to listen in with us this morning. We have a wonderful special guest in the house this morning, none other than the debonair himself, Mr. Craig George with The Forge. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm good. Good morning, Doc. I'm grateful to be here this morning.
Absolutely. Well, we're happy to have you. Brother George, a lot of people might not know who you are here in the community. Can you just kind of give us a little insight as to who the one and the only debonair Craig George is and what he does here in the community?
Well, so I am the director of Forge Recovery Center in Vidalia. And, I guess for me, more importantly, is first and foremost, I'm an individual in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is I haven't felt it necessary to put drugs or alcohol into my body in almost 6 years now, and what that has done for me is it's given me the opportunity to live a life that's truly just blessed and beyond my wildest dreams. It's given me the opportunity to be a loving husband today.
All right.
To be a present father in my children's lives, to own a business, to own a home, to own a car. And we could go on down the line.
It's the little things that we take for granted, right?
Yeah, I tell you. Yes, sir.
But it means so much. So being in recovery, 6 years, married. How long have you been married?
3 years.
3 years. How many children?
Well, I have 4 altogether. So
Okay.
I have 2 from my first marriage. These 2 are at the University of Alabama. One will be graduating this year.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of those 2. And then I have 2 little ones. And so altogether I have 4 children, 2 with Tiffany, and our youngest one is 5. So
All righty.
From 5 to 21. So yep.
Yeah, you're a busy man.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, normally we have anytime we hear University of Alabama on this show, we have a little button we push to go boo. But I won't do that to you this morning. I'll be cordial to you.
I certainly appreciate that.
Especially considering that they're graduating. That's an honor and
Yes, sir.
privilege, and we thank you for that. Well, we highlight those persons in our community who are doing great things for the community. In this case, you give us 2 things that we really like to focus on. One, those who contribute to our community to help make it better, but also those persons who have taken potentially a bad situation or come from what many people would consider not so good, and then turn it around for the good. And so we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing this sharing your testimony with our community. So I want you to tell us a little bit about The Forge.
Certainly. So Forge is officially been an organization since November 2020. The work leading up to Forge has been going on in our community for years prior to that. And this is kind of something that's naturally happened. It's quite beautiful and amazing, and I'm honored to be in the position that I'm in today. What Forge is it's a long-term treatment program for men who suffer from substance use disorder and other mental health challenges.
Okay.
So that's truly how we view this thing at Forge is as a disease, and whether it's one that is hereditary and we were born with, or the individual has contracted later, it makes no difference to us. The insanity behind the actions and the thinking that's involved in this has medically has been proven to be classified as a disease. So that's the approach that we take on this thing, and that's how we look at it. So we are a very robust 12-step program.
Okay.
So that kind of makes us somewhat different in our approach in comparison to other programs around our area. It
is a residential program.
Yes, sir, it is. So what it is considered is a work-structured program. I think what is confused as many times is a halfway house, and that's not what we are. And so there are plenty of those around. But we are a very, I don't want to be deterring of any individual who may be listening and wanting to come here. We're a very tough program. So what we require of our men is that they go out and work each day.
Okay.
That's after a period of downtime. So we do ask or we require them to be down for the first 30 days to get acclimated to the program, to really get educated more on both addiction and recovery, and to really, really learn that they can trust us. Like our very first thing, strategy that we use is to engage. And so our motto is no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Okay.
And so we live by that, and we really want to build that relationship in those first 30 days. And also, with this program being a work-structured program, at 30 days when they go out into our community, there's plenty of, I don't know how to say this another way right now, but rope to hang yourself, right? So, I mean, we're going and coming. And
you've got plenty of room to kind of vet the persons that you have in your program.
Absolutely, yes.
And determine whether or not they're serious about their recovery.
Exactly. And on top of that is to truly, learn how they move and operate at, what assets and liabilities that they're bringing to the table, and where our focus needs to be. And so we utilize that time to get them, we get them assigned to a counselor. We are really grateful through the work of Leanne White and Leanne White and Company. They provide counseling to our men. And so we also are a member of Toombs County Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery, the consortium.
Excellent.
So
you put in a lot of work.
Absolutely, we've done, certainly we've done a great job as a team. The board of directors of Forge they are truly what have helped us to really become just a very strong organization in such a short amount of time, and gain the credibility that we've gotten in this community.
How many board members do you have?
So we have 9 board members. Some are local, some are not. They vary in their skill sets and very diverse. Some are in recovery, some are not.
Okay.
So we really, we want to, our certainly our strength lies in our diversity, and that's us as a board or us as a community when we can come together and actually put any differences to the side and again learn how to work with the different assets and the gifts God's given each of us.
Excellent.
Bring those to the table and work together.
In fact, you starting this program, the Forge, you said you're housed in Vidalia, but is that where you actually started?
No, sir. No. So we actually started in my home is where I would say we started, here in Lyons.
Okay.
And so, again, this was kind of a very natural thing. I am a member of a 12-step program.
Okay.
And with that, we carry the message to the addict who still suffers. And so that's kind of what the 12th step is once we've had a spiritual awakening. And for me, given a chance at a second life, I feel like that this life is indebted to to God, to the God of my understanding, which I'll call Jesus Christ.
Right.
He's certainly led me and guided me in a way, and to where I don't feel like the life that I have is truly mine. So coming from where I've came from, it's kind of like I'm indebted to the ones that came before me that invested in me, and so I was asked to do the same thing. I don't owe them anything. I owe the man yet to come.
Right.
And so when I began doing this work, it was just bringing one man at a time into my home, and that certainly got.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least, right?
I can imagine.
Yeah, so with two young children and a wife.
Wow.
You know, within the first year of doing that, we figured that may not be the wisest thing to do, and so we ended up renting a house here in Lyons, and I owned a construction company at the time, and regardless if the men had experience or not, they would if someone, we didn't go looking for people. I mean, just people continued to show up, and one man at a time. You know, that one man turned into four. And then when the fifth man come, we had to rent another house, and then 5 men turned into 8, and so after a couple of years of doing that and working and running a very successful construction company, I was really at a place in my life to where I was truly seeking God's guidance in my life, and just asking Him, hey, if this isn't something you want me to do, then I don't want to do it, and felt strongly led to put all that aside and lay all that down, and to take a leap of faith and step out and just say, okay, we're gonna create a peer-led treatment center, a 12-step treatment center, non-clinical,
and you did it right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So as wild and crazy as that may seem, when we're stepping in God's faith, I mean, there is the timing of whatever we're looking at here in worldly eyes or whatever's going on doesn't, is to no avail. It makes no difference. So, I'm somewhat, I guess, my life would prove that I've lived it as a risk taker, the majority of it, right?
It sounds like.
So even in my recovery, I could do that, and therefore that's why it's so important to have a strong board of people who will tell you no. Okay, no, Craig. We're gonna reel you in real quick, let's take a second look at that. So I'm so grateful for those men and women that God has surrounded me with, a wise counsel that guides this ship, and I need that.
And here we are, 2 years later. Approaching 2 years.
Yes.
And almost, 20, how many men do you have again?
22 currently.
22 men.
Yes, sir. So,
wow.
So certainly, even after the things that happened here in Lyons, things, really stepped back, and I feel like God kind of cleared the table of some things that were going on, and I took a step back and prepared and got ready, and then stepped out into this, and we started with 2 bunk beds over in Vidalia, 4 men in November 2020, and we started out with 2 men, and so we've grown, purchased some properties along the way within these 2 years, and
renovating them.
Yes, sir. Yeah, certainly. We're trying to invest in a part of Vidalia, not only just invest in men, but invest in our community and in that neighborhood in which. Where this property lies over there, we're really focusing on that part of town.
So you've had some opportunities to kind of open up for you in that area.
Certainly, yes, sir. Again, I'm just a firm believer as doors open up, we just step through them. Yeah, there's no, kicking them down or trying to pry them open today. So we just step through doors today, and as they close, we let them close, and that's okay too.
Look at that, man. So where do they work? I mean, where do these men work?
So they work all over, and this community has embraced us so much, and has taken a chance and continues to take a chance on these men. I mean, they work everywhere from the city of Lyons. So that grateful for the leadership of these communities. All the Georgia Pine Straw, Clendon. The list, I could go on and on. I mean, they're all throughout our community working.
Wow.
and are all speaking out about their recovery too. These, that's one thing that I would say that is much different in Forge, even from the 12-step approach, is that for years it's been, it's an anonymous program, right?
Okay.
And so like we're meeting kind of in basements and secluded and ashamed of where we're at, and what Forge is asking our men to do is to step out of those shadows and to, when given an opportunity like I've been given today, to step up on a platform to speak out against recovery and say, hey, we really want to shatter the stigma of this being, the idea of a heroin user living under a bridge in a cardboard box. I mean, these are our sons and daughters, mothers, fathers, and individuals who have, this isn't something that's like just attacking, one class of persons. Right. This is, our entire country is just, you talk about epidemic. Yeah. I mean, pandemic. I mean, this is an epidemic that's been ongoing for a while.
For a while. Yeah. Wow. Well said. Well said. Well, we've got several questions, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, we're not going to be able to get to all of this morning. We may have to have you back, but we want to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we want to talk about the intake process, and we'll have a few other questions for you. But this is exciting, and again, thank you for being on the show. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Mr. Craig George right after these messages.
Work smarter, not harder. Here at Vidalia Federal, we are all about that phrase as we strive to make your life easier. No more drowning in paperwork or being interrogated over the idea of buying a house. Getting a home loan should be an enjoyable, simple process, not a daunting task. This is Julia McKenzie with Vidalia Federal Savings Bank, and I am here to make the mortgage process easy and simple. Come see me at the Vidalia branch on Jackson Street to talk about your next home purchase or refinance. I look forward to serving you. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde, we're here to serve our community by providing all your transport needs. We offer non-emergent, non-medical transport by stretchers, wheelchairs, and ambulatory vehicles. We can transport to medical offices, dental facilities, vision, pharmacies, family events, and now we can transport your pets to the vet. We offer private pay, so for a ride above the rest, call Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde at 912-594-1812.
Woo-wee. We don't need a calendar to tell us that summer is here. Just go outside and you'll know it's getting hot, hot, hot. This is Anthony J. with Todd Patchett Housing Center, and we're inviting you to beat the heat in one of our beautiful homes from Cavalier, Clayton, Deer Valley, Live Oak, Scott Build, or Southern Energy Homes. We build all of our homes a lot more energy efficient than they would have normally come. So stop by Todd Patchett Housing Center in Claxton, Georgia, and pick out your energy savings dream home from our massive selection. Todd Patchett Housing Center, all your housing solutions under one roof.
The picture of health, the picture of health.
Would you like to improve your energy? How about getting better sleep? It can start with a simple test. Find out how you can start feeling better with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Schedule an appointment with Matt Hodges, family nurse practitioner, Appling Healthcare certified biotech provider. The biotech method of pellet therapy can improve your energy, sleep, weight, and libido. Call 912-367-4122 and start feeling better today.
Welcome back to this edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, the Doc, and been blessed this morning to be hanging out with the one and the only, the debonair, Mr. Craig George.
Yes, sir.
He's with The Forge, ladies and gentlemen, which is a program here concentrating on those men who are in recovery. And before the break, Brother Craig, you were talking about how this, the substance abuse and use, it has been an epidemic in our society for years, and you even equated it to I would say, the downsides of being in a pandemic, which makes it a step higher than an epidemic. Sure. And in fact, it is a crutch for many Americans on today, and has been. But one of the things that you said, and I want to make sure that we say it again, is it doesn't just, a lot of people have a certain stigma or a stereotype, but in fact, this is an illness that affects people across classes, so to speak, regardless of where you come from.
Yes, sir. Certainly, it definitely does not discriminate at all, and so it's something that collectively, as as different groups or organizations or our community, I feel like we must set our differences aside of any thoughts at all of this, being one part of town that's affected. The same drugs that are in the worst part of town are in the best part of town.
Wow.
And so, so there is no one who is, myself, I'm one of five, so I have four siblings. I'm the only one who suffers from substance use disorder.
Wow.
And I come from, my parents are still married today. They're very active in their church and their community, very successful. There's nothing you could pinpoint in my own life that would say, hey, this guy was the prime candidate for addiction. So that's definitely one thing I hope that we can learn to unify and at least understand. And prepare for the worst of the worst. Prepare, my mentality is to try to make such a difference and impact our community in a way to prepare for my own children, if they're caught in the grips of addiction, that they have plenty of resources in this community to not need to go any further than this community to find help.
That's great, and I love your message of unity and actually a plan for our future and making sure that we have the resources available for those who may be hurting and those who might be faced with this in the future. Now, let's talk about the intake process. How does a person become, or how does one get involved or be admitted to the Forge?
So there's a variety of different resources and individuals and organizations that certainly, I guess, would suggest it in the word, but give our public relations work that we've done out in the community with the different detox units, the criminal justice system, just the work we've been doing for years with individuals has given us a name and a reputation to where, if an individual is seeking treatment of some sort, or not even seeking treatment, it's just for looking for someone to talk with very regularly. Either me or one of my colleagues, someone will give them our number. And so really a lot of this begins with a conversation on the phone with a person who's just desperate and in need to talk to someone. Many aren't even seeking treatment at that time until after the conversation, or are they in a place to where talking with someone who can relate, and we think that that's so important. Anyone who's affiliated with Forge and the intake process, they have lived experience with addiction and recovery. And so,
is it an extensive process?
No, sir. It's a phone conversation, and then we try to have a face-to-face interview with every individual. So we will come to you, whether that's in the local jails or on the streets at a huddle house we want to sit down and talk with the man, because we want to make sure, again, like I said, not to deter anybody from Forge, but Forge is a tough program, so we don't want to be misleading, and this may not be the right fit for the individual in their walk and where they're at in their journey. So,
is it for men just in this community, or do you accept men from around?
All over, so all over the state, and even we've had a couple from out of state that have came to us. So from Tennessee and Alabama, we've went and picked up men from there. So we certainly are. We're here to help any individual who's willing to help themselves. And so really, there is a financial piece to get into Forge through this intake process. That's a $1,200 entry fee, which I know that may seem like a large number for an individual in the grips of addiction. We have never had a man come to Forge who has truly been willing to exhaust different resources in not only our community but the community they may come from, and really if they put as much work into getting the entry fee together as they do in
Yeah.
In the
come up
chase,
with it.
yeah, for their addiction. We've never had a man try to come up with that hasn't been able to obtain that.
See that.
What that does, though, is it covers them for that $1,200 covers them for basically the first 5 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And so we do, like I said, require them to be down during that time and get acclimated to the program.
Okay.
And that gives us the funding necessary to take care of that man during that time. And from that point forward, after the 30 days, they start to work, and the cost is $220 a week. Every week they pay that. That covers their food, their housing, and their counseling each week.
Wow.
We think it's very important for the man to have some skin in the game in his own recovery.
Got to have some skin in the game.
So we certainly, this was very beneficial for me to come to a work structured program that
Wow.
no longer was it mom and dad paying for it, or the church paying for it, or the state paying for
You're
it.
going to do it yourself.
Craig paid for it,
All right.
and so,
Wow.
but I did need some help, and so there are different churches that have certainly came alongside of us and sponsored men, and people just send money in to donate for that specific reason. And again, this community has really got behind this movement, and has really, we have not had a man who has truly put in put his pride to the side and been willing to seek these funds. I'll give them the leads and give them the different organizations' names. It's up to them to call. And it's one thing to ask for $1,200. It's another thing to ask for $200 from 6 people, right? So
Right.
that's kind of the approach that I take. And then also there's other organizations out there who have funding specific to this. One of our partners yesterday, they had in Statesboro, I'll give them a shout out. A shout out is Freedom Through Recovery.
Okay.
They wrote an entry fee check yesterday for a man to come that we picked up from a detox facility in Statesboro and John's Place.
Wow.
So we're certainly working together. Different communities, the recovery community in general has banded together. And that comes from really the work of the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse and the development of different organizations called RCOs. And so those are recovery community organizations, which Forge is also a part of doing here in Lyons. And so give that a shout out too.
Wow.
Gardens of Hope is now taking off, and we've partnered up with the Lions Garden Club and bringing back that building and life to that great organization that's been pouring into this community for a long time. So
You've got a lot of moving parts. You're shifting a lot of gears. Why just men? Is there a plan for women?
I wouldn't say there's a plan, but there's talks and there's thoughts, and from, I guess, the 12-step approach and what I've been taught is men work with men, women work with women. We don't want to get confused in what we're doing and get sidetracked. And so, so I'm a man, and this is, so primarily that's where we began our work. And so it's going to take a real strong woman to come alongside and join forces with Forge if the future of that ever goes in that direction. Because I will stick to that. I just don't want to blur lines.
That's good. Good. Well, one of the other things I want to make sure we highlight, and that is the rigor of the program. It sounds like you really mean business, and that's a good thing. Have you had those persons who were a part of it that you said, maybe this program isn't for you?
Absolutely. That's not an uncommon thing with the program and its design. It's one of those things. I think just recovery in general, if we really look at the statistics, unfortunately, they're as far as long-term recovery, Forge is not about just passing out certificates of pieces of paper to say you graduate this program. What we are trying to produce is true, authentic change in an individual, and really, we want to be held at the gold star standard of treatment programs in this state. And
Excellent.
So we require a lot of our men. We ask a lot of them. We stretch them far beyond what they're comfortable
That's good.
stretching, and we want these men who are really willing to do what it's going to take to not just get through a program, but to sustain their recovery and to truly transform their lives. Like, that's what Forge is about.
Excellent, excellent. Well, if someone wanted to donate and give to your cause, how would they do it?
I think the easiest way would be to go on our website. So it's forgerecoverycenter.com.
Okay.
And there's a donate button there, and you just click on it, and the rest is self-explanatory.
And Forge is F-O-R. I'll let you finish.
F-O-R-G-E. Yes, sir. So Forge Recovery Center. And yeah, we certainly would love to meet with any individual who would give us the time and the space, and so I cannot thank you enough for this time and this space right now.
Is there a number they can call?
Yes, they can call 912-425-1711. That's my personal number, and so that's, I really hope to stay engaged in the way that we've set this thing up. Again, this is not a director who's off somewhere. I mean, I'm at Forge every day. I left there last night at 11:30 at night.
Wow.
And I'll be heading there when I get out of here. So yeah, certainly we are fully engaged in what we do. And if you call that number, you'll speak with me. And I'd love to talk to you about anything from your loved ones to recovery in general, or the disease of addictions.
It's not just you. You've got some help.
Absolutely, yes. So we've got some excellent help. So we've got 2 employees that work full time, and that's Todd Ham. He's the assistant director.
Okay.
He's great at what he does.
Is he from this area?
He is not. He's actually from I think he's from Jacksonville originally, but Ludowici is where he travels from daily. He's just an individual that he's just very unique and very educated in both lived experience and actual education, and he's also the director of Gardens of Hope.
Okay.
So we kind of are the idea between Forge, like the last strategy that we use is to send out, so we want to raise men up and send them out, and so certainly Forge should continue to flourish and grow into other things, and so this is the first step and the first phase of that. With us, extending our hand to Gardens of Hope here in Lyons, and that's an umbrella of resources for individuals to find recovery, and it's like a walk-in facility, immediate care type thing for individuals who are struggling with substance use disorder and mental health challenges.
Super. Who else did you say you had on staff?
Peter Baldwin. So he's been with me. He's the operations manager. Peter's been with me since the beginning. He is a man of God. He is he's got a servant's heart, and he is the only way that I have done what's been done is Peter's been by my side from the beginning.
You gotta have a good team around you.
Oh my goodness, yes sir, yes, absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can attest to that here at Y101.
Yes sir, I've certainly enjoyed hanging out with your team today. It's been great.
Well, it's just been a pleasure. You're going to be actually recognized for the work you're doing on tomorrow night. I've got some inside information. We had Mr. Martin Luther Wardlaw on the show on last week, and he mentioned your name a few times.
Yes, sir.
So how does that feel?
Oh, man, I don't really know how to explain that to you. It's funny, and I probably will mention this again tomorrow, like, I went and rented a tux for this because this will be the first tux I've ever worn in my life. So
look, man,
I got kicked out of school in 10th grade, so I never got to make it to prom.
See that, man? Wow.
In my life, and then live this other. So I'm really excited.
That is excellent.
It's amazing, man, where God's brought me to, and so I'm really excited.
Wow, that's excellent. Well, you deserve it, and keep up the good work. We're just so grateful. And we're blessed to have you as a part of the community and doing your part. And like I said, turning potentially what many people would consider a bad situation, turning it around for good. Is that not what God asks us to do? So
absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Before I let you go, I got to hit you with a big one. Yours is kind of easy. You kind of lobbed the ball over the plate for me earlier in our conversation. If you had to choose, coming up in this new football season, who would you go for? The Dogs or Alabama.
The dogs, 100%.
All right, okay. I just
So I'm born and raised here, and that's always been my team, and that'll never change.
All right,
I tell my kids when they moved to Alabama, they became champion chasers.
There you
That's
go.
all they did out there. So so yeah.
Just
so
I had to
give them a
kind
hard
of
time,
work
too.
that back in, man. Let you redeem yourself.
Yes,
so.
sir. Yeah, there's no question
Oh,
where I
boy.
stand on that. So.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much again, Craig, for all that you do, and your entire staff and your board. Just keep up the good work. And we're here, and we're going to have you back again.
I'd love to come back.
All right. Well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another edition of Community Matters. I'm your host, the Doc, and thank you for being with us. As always, we thank Miss Dorothy Davis for all the work that she does and keeping us posted on our website, tcbbroadcasting.com, tcbbroadcasting.com. You can go there and review this again with Brother Craig. Share it with some people and support the work that the Forge is doing. We're so happy to always have with us our producer, the one and the only Dave Allen, and all the work that he does. We appreciate you. And then our GM walked in this morning on the tail end of the conversation, the one and the only Miss Robin Watson. So this has been an edition of Community Matters. Thank you. Come again on next week, and we will do this all over again and have another wonderful guest with us. And so just continue to do your part to make our community the best that it can be. God bless you, and good day.
You've been listening to Community Matters, a service of TCB Broadcasting. Today's show was brought to you by Todd Padgett Housing Center in Claxton, Johnson & Johnson Transport in Uvalde, Vidalia Federal in Vidalia and Lyons, and by Appling Healthcare in Baxley. Tune in next week at 8:15 during Y101's live morning show for another special guest. We'll talk about what's happening right here in our hometown. Community Matters is a service of TCB Broadcasting on Country Legends Y101 The Fox.